This is Kendra McRae, and I am bringing the week 22 solution video for Workout Wednesday, week 22. So in this week's challenge, we wanted to focus on how to deal with unstructured data. So about 95% of the time, you're going to deal with data that comes out of a database or a file of some sort, and it makes sense. But then there's that other 5% where, like, maybe you did some web scraping, or you're looking through activity log files or unstructured text data, and from, like, let's say user feedback, and you're needing to kind of bring it all together into something that can actually be used for analysis. And so what this challenge does is it kind of features regex. Which is, I guess, short for regular expressions, which is a way for you to kind of transform that unstructured stuff into, stuff that you can deal with. So with this challenge, I wanted to leverage Airbnb data, and I think the format was JSON, so it's unstructured. And so I wanted to be able to provide a user the ability to find out, and search for a listing if they wanted a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, so on and so forth. And also for them to kind of be able to filter and see down to the actual neighborhood. And so let's look at this cozy Beacon Hill house near the VA hospital. I'm kind of familiar with that area just because I'm from Seattle, and so I want to enable the user to actually click through to the actual listing. So in this case it didn't work, but generally it would. So it's like Murphy's Law when you actually do it live. It doesn't work, but it is what it is. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is connect to the data. So boop, boop, boop. I can get that out. All right, I'll just do that. And there's our data. So as you can kind of see, it looks a little, so right now this is a description. So this is actually, what how the host described the listing. So you can see it's kind of long format. There's not like a main structure. It's just whatever the host actually wanted to type. You'll see that what's missing here is that there is no bedrooms or the number of baths kind of listed. So that's kind of so that's actually what we're going to need to derive and extract out of this description area. So that's our kind of number one challenge, and then everything else is just kind of gravy after that. So let's go ahead and get this going. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I want to take a look at this description field. And you can kind of see how gnarly it is just looking at it. So there's not a lot of things that we can hook into using just traditional data, kind of extract types, not data extract, but extracting out. Because what we're wanting to do eventually is to standardize, because like sometimes bedroom shows up as BDRM, sometimes it shows up as bedroom, sometimes it's bed. And so what the first thing that we're going to want to do is standardize that, right? Because especially if we do basically find and replace, we're going to need to find that one word to replace all of them with another one, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use a built-in function in Tableau using regex, which is the replace function. So this one is just, let's just say normalize bedroom. So in this case, we don't want to regex extract, we want regex replace. And so in this instance, I want to take a look at this column. And then what I'm going to tell it to do is I want, after a space, oops, and then just to save you guys all of the typing, I'm going to actually just copy and paste what I've already created. I'm going to do that and then I'll break down what all this stuff means. Okay, so in this calculation, what I'm essentially doing is saying, hey Tableau, I want you to look into this column, which is the description column, and I want you to find the different, I guess, variations of the word bedroom, rooms, whatever, that we found in the description. Now, I bet some of you guys that are really deep into regex are like probably rolling your eyes at this calculation because there's probably some sort of wild card that you could use to just, capture the letter, anything that has the letters BD, RM. But there were so many wild variations here that I would have ended up using the same amount of keystrokes to get to the same location. So I took a longer path, but it is what it is. I call this survival regex. I'm sure that there is one that is a lot more graceful, but in this case, we're just trying to get some stuff done and just and kind of use them this way. So I'm going to replace any kind of variation with the word bedroom. So it's a find, so find this and replace it with this. So the next thing that we're going to do is, once we have that, I'll just label this step 2, which is I want you to start categorizing the stuff that you did find with that first step. So we'll just call this categorize the size. So I'm going to say, hey, if, and we're going to take that field that we just created, not room type, if I can grab it, third time's a charm. All right, so I'm basically saying, hey, if this contains the word studio, then just call it the studio, right? Else, and then now we're back into regex land, I want you to extract, so I want you to take out, and then it's basically a pattern, so we're going to give it a pattern to look at. So when you see let's see, all right, so it does not like something. All right, so it's expecting a close parentheses. There we go. Okay, so what we've actually, so we said, hey, if this column contains the word studio, call it a studio. And then what we're saying here is look into this column of data, not the description, but the column that we just created. And then this D is actually shorthand for digit, so it can be 0 through 9. And so it's like saying, hey, every time you see the word bedroom, also, I only want you to bring out the word bedroom and whatever digits precede it. And so we're going to go here and we're just going to bring this into the view, see what we got. Oh, okay, so it's doing what we expect on the studio side, but it isn't doing what we expect for everything else. So we got to figure out what's happening here. And so I'm going to just look at and see if we have any weird spacing. All right, cool. We are cooking with fish grease now. So that's just an example. Regex is very sensitive to space or just spacing and case, right? And so just one of those things to kind of watch out for. The next thing that I'll probably want to do is I actually only care about, listings that are the entire house versus sharing the house. I had one where we had an Airbnb and we actually, it was like a shared house, part of a house, and it was like the worst thing ever. So in this instance, I only want the user to be able to look at entire house listings. All right, cool. So I think so the cool thing that we have now is we have extracted all the pertinent information that we want out of here. Now, the thing that I'm looking at is I see a lot of variation, and I really want basically it's like, hey, if it's a studio or 1 to 4 bedrooms, fine, you can individually select that. Anything over 5, those, huge, locations, we're just going to go ahead and group those. So I'm going to create a group field, and I'm just going to group everything that is larger than 5 bedrooms, and I'm just going to put them there. All right. And we'll say 5 or more bedrooms. And we'll apply that and show that as a filter. I do not want the all value, and I want this to be a radio button. Okay, fantastic. But one thing I'm noticing, it's a small piddly point, but it is what it is. Studios are smaller than 1 bedroom, so I think I want the order to change. So all I'm going to do there is just update the default properties for sort. And I'm just going to do that. And there we go. So we're back in business. All right, so now we have to so now that we have our data, which is like the biggest part of this exercise, the other part we need to do is build that histogram. So what I'm going to do, so a traditional histogram, most people will go, hey, just go to the price, because I need to understand, what's the count of listings by the different price buckets. And so let me go so a lot of people would, just find, let's say, price, and they would create a bin using, just the normal Tableau, default bin creation. The limitation there is a couple of things. First, I'm looking for a continuous axis so that I can add things like a reference line or some additional stuff to that to the view. The other thing, then you're not like the bins, the default bins aren't as flexible. And also, if I wanted to use my calculation or my bin into another calculation, you're kind of limited a little bit, by using the out the box bin creation. And so that's why I tend to create it using a calculated field. This week, not this week, but I read it a long time ago, but it's a blog by Jeffrey Schaefer. He has this Data Plus Science, and it's a fantastic blog, but he highlights a little known function that really is a game changer, especially if you're dealing with needing to have dynamic bins and all that kind of stuff. And I think he mentioned that he got the methodology from Jonathan Drummey. The cool thing about the data fam is everybody's kind of inspired by everybody, so it just becomes this melting pot of inspiration. So I can't claim any sort of unique or original ideas here. I definitely want to give a lot of props to Jeffrey Schaefer, which is where I first learned about this methodology. So the next thing I want to do is I actually want to create my bins. So I think I want to do increments of 100, but honestly, the sky's the limit. And so I don't necessarily have to make any choices in that. I'm just going to make this so I can change it at my discretion. So it's just a parameter. So I'm not locked into anything. So maybe I want 100 bins of 100, maybe I want 50, and I want everything to kind of dynamically update. And so this is the cool formula, which is the price bins. All right, so in this instance, it's this thing, I had never even heard of this. It's called the sysnum bin. And just to kind of give you clarity on if you were to look it up, you're not going to get a lot of information, that's out of the box here. So there's not a lot of documentation behind it. All I know is that it works and it fixes a lot of the issues that kind of plague the out of the box, bin creation piece. So in this instance, I want, kind of sysnum bin, and then we'll just do price and bin size. And then I actually want to lock that up there. And then I want to bin size. let's see what we have. Perfect. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of some of this stuff. I know the effort to create so many sheets is just all right, and then I think I want the names, and I want the count distinct names here, and I think I want to flip this stuff, and I don't want this to be aggregated. I just want this to be, let's dimensionalize this, and instead of a line, get a little fancy bar action situation here. I'm going to change that and make this my increments. Those are the world's fattest bars in the world. That's fine. All right. So now it's looking like kind of what we want. So that's awesome. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add an average. And of course, I could be basic and just, add the regular reference line and average out of the box, or I can just, use an unnecessary LOD just because that's what my heart desires right now. So that's what I'll do. All right, so we'll just do the include function, listing URL, average price, and I want just to wrap that up there, and I'm gonna throw that here. I'm gonna add my little reference line, boop, boop. And my label, I just want the value. Okay. All right. And I just, for all kicks and all right, so this is kind of what I'm looking at. It's the spread. So it's the spread of like the visible values, not necessarily so it's kind of looking at the entire table, which is fine. All right, and I think I'm good here for now. So if I kind of click through, I should get what I expect, which I am. So that's great. So the next thing I want to build, and I'll just name this creatively, histogram. And the next thing I want to build, and just to make sure I don't have to add any more little situations here, I'm going to add a map, and I'm going to just throw in my longitude. And the only thing I'm noticing here is that this, I need to add, like, latitude is looking like an integer, and it really should be a geographic. So I'm going to assign a geographic role to that one. And we're just going to double click. Great, we're in the right state. And then I'm just going to drag this listing URL to detail so I can get the individual dots. A lot of it just looks clumped together. So just to kind of give it a little bit more like, kind of refinement or detail, I'm going to just kind of add a little border there, and then choose a random number. And so because just to kind of see where all the things are happening there. So my map is done. So I'm just going to go ahead and build my dashboard now. Okay. And I just want to make sure that my filter applies to everything. And so let me just see what is happening. Oh, and I also want to use this as a filter as well. So if someone selects up to this bin, I only want to highlight that stuff, right? And of course we can throw in like maybe a little bit more detail here into the tooltip. And then of course, if we were doing the URL action, we can do that as well. So let us see if this is working. So these are only 1 bedrooms. And then if I were only looking at this stuff, then that would give me the price points that I would desire. Cool. So that part works. And so then the next thing, and I hope I can remember, like the URL that I'm looking for. Let's see. Listing URL. Okay, so we gotta throw that on there, which is what I'll do. Perfect. It works. So of course, we can spend a little bit more time formatting and making this look super pretty, but I just wanted to kind of, the point of the solution video is kind of show you just how we kind of built up the primary purpose behind the challenge. And then of course we can refine with, making this, the pretty chart committee type stuff to make sure that this is showtime ready. And then I think we were going to make this a little short in terms of height, and now we're in business. So I hope you enjoyed this week's challenge. If you have any questions or comments or anything else, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at it's Kendra M, or just on the Workout Wednesday page as well. But I hope you got something out of this, and having fun with at least unstructured data to a certain extent. So anyways, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.